After the revelation that Francisco and Jacinta would not live long, Lucia asked, "Will I stay here alone?" And Our Lady replied, "No, my child, and do you suffer much? Do not be discouraged, I will never leave you." It was when she spoke these last words that she opened her hands for the first time, communicating to us a very intense light, like a reflection of the one that came from her, penetrating our chests and the deepest part of our souls.
I am right here in the place where the Covada area is. The exact place of the apparitions is where the official image of Our Lady of Fatima is, the main one. It's a very quiet place. People come here to pray. There are a lot of people meditating, asking, giving thanks.
The original holm oak from the apparitions doesn't exist anymore. Today, what we're seeing here is another giant holm oak, which was brought later to the same place, right next to the Chapel of the Apparitions, in front of the sanctuary. In that May of 1917, the woman in the crown of the holm oak, who said she came from heaven, asked the children to return to this exact same place on the 13th of each month. In the following months, the reflection of the light that came from her hands seemed to penetrate the earth and showed us a great sea of fire, which seemed to be under the earth. Immersed in that fire were the demons and souls, as if they were transparent and black embers, or bronzed with human form, floating in the blaze. The demons were distinguished by horrifying, repulsive forms of strange, frightening animals, but transparent and dark. Lucia wrote that she only didn't die of fright and terror at this description of hell because in the first apparition, 2 months earlier, Our Lady had promised to take them to heaven.
The mortal remains of Jacinto Marto were brought here to this chapel that is next to the altar, very close to the sacristy where people come to pray every day. The mortal remains were placed in this tomb, and later, in 2006, the body of Sister Lucia. It was brought here. She lived until she was 97 years old. The two were placed together. Sister Lucia and now Saint Jacinta.
The famous photograph of the little shepherds, where all three appear, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, was taken right here, in front of this wall, which hasn't changed at all. In the photo you're seeing here, notice how these 3 stones I'm showing here appear in the photo. They were a little lower, but it was here that they were immortalized in this image that tells us who the 3 visionaries of Fatima were. Of the many apparitions of Mary, the mother of Jesus, reported throughout the history of Christianity, none is more well known to Brazilians than those of Fátima in Portugal, where I am now, and not just for us. In the whole world, perhaps they are the most prophetic and the ones that arouse the greatest interest. During the visits she made to 3 children more than a century ago, in this place where I am now, according to the reports, Mary supposedly revealed 3 secrets of a religious and political nature that mobilized and captured the attention of Portugal, first and then the world. It was right here that, according to the reports, the mother of Jesus appeared to the 3 little shepherds, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, in 5 of the recorded apparitions in 1917. Then in 1919, this structure that we see here behind us was built, which is the Chapel of the Apparitions, the smaller chapel inside. To visit the other places related to these phenomena, including where this story begins, 2 years earlier, with the first visions of Sister Lucia. I wanted to show you this place that brings people from all over the world, where people arrive on their knees fulfilling vows. They come to ask for blessings. It's a place of deep meditation where the little shepherds were. It's interesting to think that it was right here that it happened during the apparitions, a little over 100 years ago. That explains why everyone is so quiet, praying, thinking, reflecting on their own lives, thinking about what is still to come. It's a place for us to stop and meditate as well. Shall we go even further back in time? The year was 1915 and Europe was engulfed in the First World War, which had started a year earlier. On one side, the Triple Alliance, formed by the empires of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. On the other side, the Triple Entente, consisting of the United Kingdom, France, and Russia. The main cause of the war was the imperialist and expansionist policies of the great powers on both sides. And the trigger was the assassination of the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire's throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, by a Yugoslav nationalist in Sarajevo. The first move on the board was Austria-Hungary's invasion of Serbia, and in a short time, all the European powers were in conflict. Portugal was, at that time, a very poor country with a population of just under 6 million inhabitants. 70% of them were illiterate. In the words of an editorial from that time, from the newspaper O Século, here in Portugal, the one with the largest circulation, it was a petty, impoverished, and backward country, suffering from epidemics of tuberculosis and typhoid fever, and depended on imports for almost everything. Already in the first year of the war, Portugal got involved in battles against Germany to defend its colonies of Angola and Mozambique. The reason was that Portugal was afraid its colonies would become bargaining chips among the European powers. In total, 100,000 Portuguese fought in World War I and 40,000 died. Internally, the relationship between the state and the church was as bad as it could be. Shortly before, in 1908, the King of Portugal, Dom Carlos, had been assassinated. In 1910, the monarchy had been abolished, the Republic proclaimed, and Dom Carlos's successor, Manuel II, fled Portugal. The Republic, liberal and secular, came into conflict with the Church. It decreed the closure of convents and expelled from the country the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, the Jesuit order. Religious education in schools was also prohibited, and a complete separation between church and state was established. And this happened in a country that has always been extremely religious. It's hard to understand, but suddenly the Catholic religion was practically turned into a banned religion. It was against this backdrop of war on the continent and revolution in the country that here in Fátima, phenomena began to happen. In 1915, with Portugal already fighting in World War I, the girl Lucia de Jesus Rosa dos Santos, who was 8 years old at the time, had a vision that appeared in human form, the Angel of Peace. The small property where Lucia's family raised sheep was located in the village of Aljustrel, 2.5 kilometers from the parish of Fátima. Almost 20 years later, in her memoirs, Lucia herself described for the first time the vision she had. So are you enjoying this video? So let me invite you. Come study with me in my course, Mary, The History of the Mother of Jesus. It's an immersive course, 15 lessons with over 7 hours of learning. If you want to start studying with me right now, go to Rodrigo Alvarez's site. Or to make it easier, just click the link below in the video description. Oh, and I almost forgot. We make more than 20 visits to sacred places from Paris to Jerusalem, and I'll be waiting for you in the classroom. And Lucia said, I was with my cousins Francisco and Jacinta taking care of the flock, and we climbed up the hillside looking for shelter, which we called the Loca do Cabeço. Exactly this place where I am right now, which is up high and today is a sanctuary. Music, music. After having a snack there and praying for a while, we used to play, and then a wind shakes the trees and makes us look up to see what was happening because the day was calm. Then, Lucia continues, we began to see at some distance above the trees that stretched toward the east. A light whiter than snow in the shape of a young man, transparent, brighter than a crystal crossed by rays. As he got closer, we could make out his features. We were surprised and somewhat absorbed. We didn't say a word. When he reached us, he said, "Do not be afraid, I am the angel of peace, pray with me." And kneeling on the ground, he bowed his head to the floor.
Levados por movimento sobrenatural, imitamos esse movimento e repetimos as palavras.
We heard the angel say, "My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love you. I ask your pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love you." After repeating this 3 times, Lucia continues telling, he rose and said, "Now the hearts of Jesus and Mary are attentive to you, to your supplications." And he disappeared. The supernatural atmosphere that surrounded us was so intense, Lucia continues, and we were hardly aware of our own existence. For a long period of time, remaining in the position in which he had left us, always repeating the same prayer. The presence of God felt so intense and intimate that we didn't even dare to speak among ourselves. Lucia says that the next day they still felt the Holy Spirit, still surrounded by that atmosphere which only very slowly faded away. In this apparition, none of them thought about speaking or recommending secrecy. The secret was kept on its own. In fact, it was kept so completely that Lucia only later revealed the angel's visions. Much later, in 1937, when she published the 2nd volume of her work, Memoirs of Sister Lucia, after she had already joined the Order of the Dorothean Sisters. The siblings Francisco and Jacinta Marto were Lucia's cousins, first cousins. The 3 of them spent their time together, playing, except when Lucia, the oldest of the 3, was taking care of the flock of sheep. The first words of the angel that we hear in this first vision, reported as "do not be afraid," refer to what? According to the Gospel of Luke, Mary heard from the angel Gabriel when she learned that she was carrying the Son of God in her womb. "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. You will conceive in your womb, give birth to a son, and you will call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High." In her memoirs, Sister Lucia describes 2 other subsequent visits from the Angel of Portugal as he became known. The second was already in 1916, this time, over the well at the house where she lived with her parents and the rest of the family. And Lucia described it like this: "So we went to spend the afternoon hours in the shade of the trees that surrounded the well, which I have mentioned several times. Suddenly we saw the same angel next to us. 'What are you doing?' 'Pray, pray, pray, pray very much. The hearts of Jesus and Mary have designs of mercy for you. Constantly offer prayers and sacrifices to the Most High. In this way, draw peace upon your homeland. I am your guardian angel, the angel of Portugal. Above all, accept and endure with submission the suffering that the Lord sends you." Then Lucia and her cousins would have a 3rd vision of the angel, which happened in the middle of 1916 in the same place as the first one, here at Loca do Cabeço. They said that this time the angel appeared bringing a host in a chalice. Some drops of blood were falling from the host, and to Lucia the angel offered the host. To Francisco and Jacinta he gave the chalice to drink, saying, "Take and drink the blood of Jesus Christ, horribly outraged by ungrateful men. Make reparation for their crimes and console your God." Lucia said that the angel prayed with them the prayer of the Holy Trinity and then disappeared. On that last day, they realized that the boy Francisco could see the angel, but he was not able to hear his words. Almost a year had passed since the angel's apparitions. It was already May 1917, and here we need to talk once again about the political context of that time. It wasn't just in Portugal that the church had lost power. It had only been 2 months since the start of the Russian Revolution, which overthrew the Tsarist monarchy and removed the nobility and the clergy from power. In a backward, almost medieval agrarian country, instead the Bolsheviks came to power. The Bolsheviks were led by Lenin, who took Russia out of World War I. In this increasingly intense social and political context, both here in Portugal and throughout Europe, new supernatural phenomena, even more impressive, began to happen again here in Fátima. This time they were not kept secret. unlike the angel of peace who visited the 3 shepherd children. Now, according to the reports, it was Our Lady who appeared, and soon the whole country came here to witness these events. Lucia was now 10 years old, Francisco was 8, and Jacinta was 7. As usual, Lucia was taking care of the sheep in the pasture that was here, right next to the Cova da Iria, part of the family's small property, and the family wasn't as poor as most of the residents of Aljustrel. May 13th was a Sunday, and in the morning the family had gone to Mass at the parish of Fátima. A week earlier, then Pope Benedict XV had asked the faithful for many prayers for world peace during those times of war, especially from the children. Later, shortly after noon, already back at the family's house, the children were playing near the pasture, and right after praying the rosary, they saw 2 flashes, as if they were lightning. On top of a tree, a holm oak that was right here nearby, where the chapel of the Apparitions was built, they saw a luminous lady. In the words of Lucia in her memoirs, it was a lady dressed in white and brighter than the sun. From her right hand hung a rosary. Her clothes seemed to be made only of light. The tunic was white and the mantle was also white. The children said they were so close to the image, about a meter or so, that they were enveloped by the light that surrounded her. Only later did they understand that the image was of Our Lady, the Mother of Jesus. According to Lucia, Mary had the following dialogue with her. Our Lady said, "Do not be afraid, I will not harm you." Lucia asked, "Where are you from, ma'am?" In her way of speaking, "I am from heaven," and Our Lady then raised her hands pointing to the sky. "And what do you want from me, ma'am?" Lucia asked. "I have come to ask you to come here for 6 months in a row, on the 13th at this same hour. Later I will tell you who I am and what I want." And she turned to Lucia. "Do you want to offer yourselves to God to endure all the sufferings He wishes to send you as an act of reparation for the sins by which He is offended and as a plea for the conversion of sinners?" Lucia then answered, "Yes, we do, and according to the account, Our Lady's response was, 'You will, because you will have to suffer a lot. But thank God to be your comfort.'" In the memoirs published almost 20 years later, Lucia makes some additional comments. "It was when she spoke these last words that she opened her hands for the first time, giving us a very intense light. Then, by an inner impulse, we fell to our knees and repeated inwardly, 'O most Holy Trinity, I adore you, my God, I love you in the Blessed Sacrament.' Then, according to Lucia, Nossa Senhora acrescentou, 'Pray the rosary every day to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war.' Then she began to rise serenely toward the east until she disappeared into the vast distance. The original holm oak of the Apparitions no longer exists. Today what we're seeing here is another giant holm oak that was brought later to the same place, right next to the chapel of the Apparitions, in front of the sanctuary. In that May of 1917, the woman in the crown of the holm oak, who said she came from heaven, asked the children to return to this exact same place on the 13th day of each of the following months until October, and that's what they did, each time accompanied by growing crowds. But first they told their family and neighbors what had happened here in the Cova da Iria. The one who doubted the stories the most was Lucia's mother, the only one in the family who knew how to read. She used to read books to the children, including stories about previous apparitions of Mary in Lourdes and Larangina, La Salette in France in the 19th century. A mix of disbelief and astonishment took over this whole region and soon after the entire country. On the 13th of the following month, June, besides the shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, 50 people came here to this region, to the Cova da Iria, and all of them were eager to see with their own eyes what the children had been telling. Again around noon, the 3 visionaries said they saw a flash of light fill the sky. Among the other observers, some noticed that the sunlight dimmed for a few minutes, while other people said that the top of the same holm oak bent as if there were a weight on it. Next, during Lucia's conversation with the apparition, they said they heard a buzzing sound like that of a bee. Lucia then asked Our Lady to heal a sick person, to which Our Lady replied, according to the account, if he converts, he will be healed within the year. Lucia said, I wanted to ask you to take us to heaven. And she heard the following unsettling answer, yes, I will take Jacinta and Francisco soon, but you will stay here a little longer. Jesus wants to use you to make me known and loved. He wants to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart in the world. It seemed like an ominous prophecy. Mary said that she would soon take little Francisco and Jacinta, and she would leave Lucia alive for a longer time, because it was Jesus' wish that Lucia would serve as an instrument to make Mary better known and loved throughout the world. In fact, Francisco died shortly after. He died in 1919 from the Spanish flu, which was a very large pandemic similar to the coronavirus pandemic that we had recently. Jacinta died in 1920, a year later, from the same Spanish flu. Both of them were buried here. A few years later, when the bodies were exhumed, something surprising happened. Jacinta's body was found intact. Exatamente como aconteceu com algumas outras santas, como por exemplo, Bourret in France, who they say was found with her blue eyes still intact. A little later, the remains of Jacinta and Francisco were taken from here to the Basilica of Our Lady of Fátima, and Sister Lucia was also buried there. Sister Lucia, who died many years later in the 21st century at the age of 97. Back to the second apparition of Mary, after the revelation that Francisco and Jacinta would not live long, Lucia asked, will I stay here alone? And Our Lady replied, no, my daughter, and do you suffer a lot? Do not be discouraged, I will never leave you. My Immaculate Heart will be your refuge and the way that will lead you to God. In front of the palm of Our Lady's right hand was a heart surrounded by thorns that seemed to be piercing it. We understood, said Lucia, that it was the Immaculate Heart of Mary, outraged by the sins of humanity, and that it wanted reparation. When this vision faded, the Lady, still enveloped in the light that radiated from her, rose effortlessly from the little tree, Lucia recounts, gently toward the east, until she disappeared completely. Another month passed, and the day announced for the third apparition arrived, July 13th. This is the most important of all of Mary's visits, because it was there that, according to Lucia, Our Lady revealed to her the 3 secrets of Fatima. How were they called later? At the expected time, a cloud settled over the holm oak. The sunlight dimmed and a cool wind blew, which surprised everyone because it was already summer. Again, the witnesses. Among them was the father of Jacinta and Francisco, Mr. Manuel Marto. Well, the witnesses reported hearing a buzzing sound like bees, just like in the second apparition. Then, the 3 children said they saw the same intense brightness, the flash of light that preceded the arrival of Mary. As usual, only Lucia spoke with Our Lady. Shall we carefully follow Lucia's account? She said the following. And Our Lady replied, quero que venha aqui no dia 13 do mês que vem. That they should continue to pray the Rosary every day in honor of Our Lady of the Rosary to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war, because only she can help them. Lucia then said, I wanted to ask you to tell us who you are and to perform a miracle so that everyone may believe that you appear to us. And the answer was, continue to come here every month. In October, I will say who I am, what I want, and I will perform a miracle that everyone will see and believe. When she said these last words, Our Lady opened her hands again, just like in the previous 2 months. Then she revealed to Lucia the first of the 3 secrets, the vision of hell. As recorded in her memoirs, the description of hell that Lucia received from Our Lady was as follows.
O reflexo da luz que das mãos expediam pareceu penetrar a terra e mostrou-nos um grande mar de fogo que parecia estar debaixo da terra. Mergulhados nesse fogo, os demônios e as almas, como se fossem brasas transparentes e negras, ou bronzeadas com forma humana, que flutuavam no incêndio, levadas pelas chamas que delas mesmas saíam.
Along with clouds of smoke falling in all directions, like sparks falling in great fires. Without weight or balance, amid screams and groans of pain and despair, which horrified and made one tremble with fear. The demons were marked by horrible and disgusting forms like frightening and unknown animals, but transparent and dark. Lucia wrote that she only didn't die of fright and terror at this description of hell because in the first apparition 2 months earlier, Our Lady had promised to take us to heaven. So according to what Lucia said, Mary revealed to her the second secret of Fatima, which was religious in nature, but also political. And I'm going to tell you here again, exactly as it was published in the memoirs, which were released in 4 editions over the decades, with some revisions made in each volume. Lucia said, We raised our eyes to Our Lady, who told us with kindness and sadness, You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wants to establish in the world the devotion to my Immaculate Heart. And this then is the second part of the secret, the devotion to the heart of Mary. Sister Lucia's text continues, now in a political tone, with the following words attributed to Our Lady. If they do what I say, many souls will be saved and they will have peace. The war will end, but if they do not stop offending God during the reign of Pius V, another worse one will begin. Here, when the mother of Jesus, according to the apparition, according to the account, speaks of another war, worse, she would be referring to the Second World War, which in fact happened during the pontificate of a pope who, as predicted by the apparition, came to be called Pius V, and it lasted from 1922 to 1939. Lucia continues the text with the words attributed to Mary. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that it is the great sign that God gives you, that He will punish the world for its crimes, through war, hunger, and persecutions against the Church and the Holy Father. For this unknown light, there is a possible explanation. On the night of January 25th to 26, 1938, astronomers recorded an aurora borealis in the sky over Europe, a physical phenomenon that usually occurs at much higher latitudes, but not in Portugal. According to Sister Lucia, as she said in her biography, the vision of the illuminated night would be the sign sent by God that the war was about to begin, which really did start the following year. She continues with the words attributed to Our Lady. Pay attention to this first sentence. To prevent it, I will come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. According to Sister Lucia, Our Lady returned to make these requests to her, but only in later apparitions, in 1925 and 1929 when she was already in a cloister in a convent in Spain. Sister Lucia concludes in her memoirs the account of the second secret of Fatima, saying that Our Lady said, if my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, promoting wars, persecutions of the Church, and the good will be martyred, and the Holy Father will have much to suffer. Several nations will be annihilated. Finally, according to the account, Mary is said to have said, My Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, which will be converted, and the world will be granted some time of peace. In Portugal, the dogma of faith will always be preserved. Mary's third apparition to the Fatima shepherd children is ending. It is now that Mary tells Lucia the third secret, which was kept for decades and was only revealed to the world by Pope John Paul II in the year 2000. In her words, "Then we saw to the left of Our Lady and a little higher up an angel with a flaming sword in his left hand. As it sparkled, it released flames that seemed to set the world on fire, but they were extinguished by the radiance that Our Lady emitted from her right hand to meet them. The angel, pointing to the earth with his right hand, said in a loud voice, 'Penance, penance, penance!' And we saw in an immense light that is God, something similar to how people appear in a mirror when they pass in front of it. And we saw in an immense light a bishop dressed in white." We sensed that it was the Holy Father. Several other bishops, priests, religious men and women were climbing a steep mountain, on top of which there was a large cross made of rough trunks, as if it were made of cork oak with the bark. The Holy Father, before reaching there, passed through a large city half in ruins and half trembling with unsteady steps, overwhelmed with pain and sorrow for the souls and corpses he found along the way. When he reached the top of the mountain, kneeling at the foot of the great cross, he was killed by a group of soldiers who fired several shots and arrows at him. And in the same way, one after another, the bishops, priests, religious men and women, and various lay people, gentlemen and ladies of different classes and positions, died. On the two arms of the cross, two angels, each with a crystal sprinkler in their hand. In them they collected the blood of the martyrs, and with it they sprinkled the souls who were approaching God. Here, according to the Holy See, the third secret of Fatima refers to the attack that Pope John Paul II suffered in St. Peter's Square. In 1981, the Turk Mehmet Ali Agca fired several shots and 4 of them hit the Pope. 2 in the stomach, 1 in the right arm, and another in the left hand. 2 believers were also hit that day. The Pope was rescued and survived. Now look, the day of the attack was exactly May 13th, the anniversary of the first apparition of Our Lady here in Fatima. Mehmet Ali Agca was arrested and sentenced to life in prison, but he served 19 years in Italy and another 4 in Turkey until he received a judicial pardon. Ciao. The last sentence that Our Lady said to Sister Lucia in that third apparition was the following, in which she asked that the secret be kept.
Isso não o digais a ninguém. Ao Francisco sim podeis dizê-lo. Quando rezardes o terço, dizei depois de cada mistério: ó meu Jesus, perdoai-nos e livrai-nos do fogo do inferno. Levai as almas todas para o céu, principalmente aquelas que mais precisarem.
Lucia then replied, "Doesn't Our Lady want anything else from me?" "No, today I don't want anything else from you," Mary would have replied, and then she rose until she disappeared into the immense distance. Then a thunderclap was heard, indicating that the apparition had ended. Sister Lucia kept absolute secrecy about the third secret. She kept it in her memory for years until, after almost dying from the flu that claimed Francisco and Jacinta, she decided to write a new account, writing down the last part of the mystery for the first time. The Bishop of Leiria kept the envelope with the third secret for 13 years until in 1957 he finally sent it to the secret archives of the Holy Office in the Vatican. 2 years later, Pope John XXIII received the sealed envelope, but decided to wait and pray before opening it, before revealing to the world what was in that letter. The envelope was sent back to the Holy Office. The next Pope, Paul VI, opened the envelope and learned the secret in 1965.
65.
But he ordered it to be archived again. Pope John Paul I died only 33 days after becoming Pope and didn't even have time to think about the matter. His successor, John Paul II, read the contents of the envelope in 1984 after nearly dying in the attack supposedly foretold by Our Lady, but only revealed the third secret to the world in the year 2000.
The venerable servants of God, Francisco Marto and Jacinta Marto, invited.
There was no shortage of criticism regarding the political tone of the secrets of Fatima. Even before that, starting from the second apparition, news about the supernatural events here began to arouse curiosity and were treated with irony by Portuguese newspapers, with the gospel provoking indignation and contempt among the Republican revolutionaries who wanted to see Portugal free from the church and the monarchy at the beginning of that century. Those who spread the messages revealed by the children of Fatima were even called superstitious, accused of provoking a certain hysteria and mass hallucination. There is still a lot of questioning because the details of the third apparition were only revealed after the events supposedly foretold by Mary here in Fatima had already happened. One of the biggest critics of the apparitions was the very person responsible for investigating them for the Catholic Church, Canon Manuel Nunes Formigão, a professor at the Santarém Seminary. He recalls that in the 18th century, other visions of Mary, or supposed visions of Mary, are said to have happened nearby at the sanctuary of Our Lady of Ortiga. There was a girl who was also a shepherdess, but those apparitions were never proven. Canon Formigão initially came here to Fatima with the stated goal of stopping what he called an imposture, which according to him resembled a Portuguese Lourdes. He was referring, of course, to the apparition of Mary in France in the 19th century at Lourdes, which is still one of the most important in the world. The main criticism about that day, July 13, 1917, was that Our Lady supposedly revealed 3 secrets and the way Sister Lucia described them. 2 were related to the political future of humanity. No one had ever heard before of Mary being concerned with political issues. There is no moment in the history of Christianity when Our Lady spoke, for example, about a war, about the relations between 2 countries, or about ideologies. So that made a lot of people uncomfortable. According to the reports, there would still be 3 more apparitions of Our Lady here in Fatima.